Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of Anime Rangers X. And let me tell you, this isn't your average tower defense game on Roblox. Sure, the core idea is the same. Bring the strongest units to defend your base and dominate the stage. But ARX takes that formula and cranks it up with flashy anime-style units, unique abilities, and some seriously fun mechanics that'll keep you hooked for hours. Now, if you're wondering which units are actually worth rolling for and taking into battle, don't worry. I've got you covered. We've put together a fresh, up-to-date tier list to help you pick the best of the best. Whether you're just getting started or you've already cleared a few maps, this list will help you build a squad that slaps. So, let's break it down and see which anime heroes are ready to carry your team to victory. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking units in Anime Rangers X. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The units in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right: Rubber Pirate, Blackleg, Leaf Ninja, Chow, Pink Ninja, Hepburn, Sunshine, Prince, Pirate Hunter, Sniper King, and Saiyan Warrior. Hold on to your gotcha pulls, because this part is going to sting. Let's start with Rubber Pirate, who might just be the poster child for disappointment. I mean, the stats are so bad across the board, you'd think this guy came from the tutorial mission and just stuck around. No damage, no health, no speed. He's got it all, in the worst way possible. Now, Blackleg tries to kick his way into relevance, and to be fair, his damage per second is okayish for a rare unit. But that's about where the compliments end. Every other stat he brings to the table is basically crying for help. He's like that one teammate who shows up late and still gets knocked out first. But not all rare units are total disasters. Let me introduce you to Leaf Ninja, the hidden gem of the bottom tier. This guy's damage per second is actually good, and his speed? Insane. He moves like he drank 5 energy drinks and heard someone insulted his anime taste. The only problem is, he sneezes and loses half his health. His hit points are just that low. Then we've got Chow, who I'm convinced was added to the game just to fill space. He has decent speed, and that's literally it. It's like the developers gave him wheels and then forgot to code the rest. No damage, no health, just vibes. Pink Ninja follows the same path. She's quick on her feet, but everything else is just sad. She looks cool, she moves fast, but once epic units enter the scene, she vanishes like your free time during a new season of your favorite anime. Let's talk about Hepburn. This guy is dirt cheap to deploy, which sounds like a good deal, until you realize you're basically throwing Monopoly money at a paper cutout. His speed is decent, sure, but his other stats are so bad it's like he's playing a different game. A slower, worse one. Sunshine tries to live up to the name with a bit of brightness in his stats. His speed is fine, and his damage per second is actually solid for a rare unit. But put him next to an epic unit, and suddenly that solid starts to look more like Sandcastle during high tide. And finally, we have a 3-part tragedy: Prince, Pirate Hunter, and the infamous Saiyan Warrior. Prince and Pirate Hunter both suffer from the same curse: horrendous stats and 0 redeeming qualities. But Saiyan Warrior? Oh boy. He is the cheapest unit in the game, and somehow still manages to be the absolute worst. It's almost impressive how bad he is. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Cyborg, Hero on Wheels, Eternal Avenger, Killer, Porcoro, Demon Slayer, Speed Ninja, and Title Tyrant. Imagine ordering a burger with everything on it: bacon, cheese, the works, only to find out it looks amazing but tastes just okay. That's exactly what it feels like to use most of the epic units in the C tier of Anime Rangers X. Let's dive into this wonderfully average collection of characters who try their best, but just can't keep up with the big leagues. Cyborg is like that one friend who's good at everything but never wins first place. Great stats all around, has a solid evolution, and hey, in the epic category, he's honestly one of the best. But once legendary units enter the room, Cyborg kind of turns into background noise. Also, when it comes to being a meat shield against tougher enemies, he's not exactly built like a tank. Now let's talk about Hero on Wheels, the literal definition of speed over substance. This guy zooms in, gets the job done fast, and disappears before you realize he was even there. He's insanely cheap to spawn. You can place a ton of him, and yeah, technically he works as a meat shield. But with his extremely low health points, he's more like a paper shield. Still, among epic units, he holds his own. Eternal Avenger sounds like a name straight out of an edgy anime arc, right? Sadly, the power doesn't match the name. Yes, he has an evolution and some okay-ish damage per second abilities, but his general stats are just bad. Like, one of the worst epic units in the entire game kind of bad. He's more like Eternal Regret. Then there's Killer. And no, the name is not ironic, it's just wildly misleading. Killer is fast, and he can jump in to slow down an enemy wave if you're in a tight spot. But when it comes to damage or survivability, he's basically just running fast toward his own defeat. Definitely not living up to the name. Porcoro. Oh boy. He has an evolution, and not just any evolution, a solid one to be fair, but the problem is everything else. His base stats are so bad that using him in his original epic form feels like choosing to play on hard mode just for the pain. He's right up there among the worst epic units in Anime Rangers X. Demon Slayer comes in with some promise. His speed is decent, and his evolution turns him into a meta tank, which is actually pretty great. But we're not talking about his evolution here. We're stuck with his epic form. And in that state, he's just okay. Not bad, not great, just kind of there. Let's not forget Speed Ninja. He's got the moves, the agility, and the placement speed to be useful. You can spam him as a meat shield, which is always handy, but don't expect him to carry a fight. His damage per second is pretty underwhelming, and aside from his speed, there's really not much else to brag about. Last but not least, Tidal Tyrant. This one tries to look menacing, and with his relatively high health points, he does tank a bit better than others here. He even has an evolution, which is a plus, but aside from that chunk of health, his other stats are so bad they make you question your life choices every time you deploy him. Let's just say he's more of a Puddle Prince than a Tidal Tyrant. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Otaku, Eternal Avenger Cursed, Hawk Swordsman, Porcoro Dragon, Shadow Reaver, Light Admiral, Vampire Emperor, Tidal Tyrant Infernal, Thunder God, and Dr. Pirate. You know you're in the B tier trenches when you're staring at your team and thinking, well, it could be worse. Let's talk about the beautifully mediocre, the why not squad, the B tier units of Anime Rangers X, the ones that almost make the cut, but not quite enough to keep you from regretting it mid-battle. Let's kick it off with Otaku, probably the only unit in this tier holding it together with sheer speed and health points. Seriously, this guy is zooming through the battlefield like he's late for Anime Con, and he's tanky enough to take a few hits along the way. But the rest of his stats? Flat as a filler episode. Still, for a non-evolutionary legendary unit, he's kind of a gem. Next, we have Eternal Avenger Cursed. And okay, this one almost feels out of place in B tier. Statistically, he's one of the strongest legendary units in the entire game. His range and ability damage per second are great. The catch? He's a bit of a unicorn. Not only is he hard to get, but you can only place 3 of him at once. Kind of like that one friend who's super useful but only shows up once a month. Now for the heartbreak. Hawk Swordsman. He's there. I mean, his stats are okay across the board. Nothing exciting. He's better than most epic and rare units, but let's be real, he's not bringing anything spicy to the team. Worse than Otaku, Vampire Emperor, and Silent Sting. And yes, even some rare units outshine him. Ouch! On the brighter side, Porcoro Dragon comes in with 5 max placements and cheap upgrades, which already gives him an edge in practicality. He's one of the best tank-style legendary units, solid across the board. The only downside? He's not exactly raining fire on enemies with his damage per second, especially compared to other evolutionary legendaries. But hey, tanks aren't about style, they're about survival. Shadow Reaver enters the chat with some slick speed and decent range, but he's dragging some serious baggage. His damage per second and health points are so low, you'll start wondering if he's secretly trying to sabotage your team. Still, he's technically better than most epic and rare units, which just says more about them than it does about him. Light Admiral is next, and oh boy, you ever meet someone who looks like they have potential but then you check their resume and it's all blank pages? That's Light Admiral. Technically legendary, but with such bad stats that even some rare units might side-eye him. He's not the worst because he's bad, he's the worst because he gives you hope first. Let's not forget Vampire Emperor, a surprisingly good non-evolutionary legendary unit. He shines in early game and story stages, and even better, he's got a solid evolution waiting for him. He's not quite Silent Sting level good, but for players still leveling up, this guy is a dependable ally. Definitely the type you keep around just in case. And finally, we've got a 2-for-1 pain special. Tidal Tyrant Infernal and Thunder God. Tidal Tyrant Infernal looks promising with nice range, decent placement limits, and affordable upgrades. But when it comes to actual damage, he's like a water balloon at a knife fight. Thunder God? He's trying, bless him. Still better than your average epic or rare unit, but in the legendary category, he's just kind of there, which is a nice way of saying don't use him unless you really have no other options. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Vampire Emperor Vampire, Cursed Fist, Otaku Speed, Leaf Ninja Sage, Night King, Saiyan Warrior Super, Cyborg Ultimate, Silent Sting, and Blackleg Hellfire. Let's talk Vampire Emperor Vampire. On paper, this guy is terrifying, massive ability damage, super low cooldown, and just generally solid stats all around. But then, he moves like he's underwater, and placing or upgrading him costs more than my entire gacha savings. You only get to place 3 of him, and despite all his power, he still gets overshadowed by other high-cost Mythic units that just do more for the same or less. It's like buying a Lamborghini and getting passed by a tuned-up Honda Civic. Now, if you've ever tried to defend Cursed Fist in a tier list argument, I admire your courage. He's cheap to place, and yeah, the devs threw him a bone with a recent buff, but let's be honest, he's still tragically bad. His stats-to-cost ratio is like investing in a meme coin hoping it'll moon. He's not a good tank, not a good damage dealer. He's just kinda there, being mythic out of pure technicality. Let's switch gears to Otaku Speed. This guy is basically what every non-evolved legendary dreams of becoming. His speed, damage per second, and range are all top-notch. Plus, with 4 max placement and affordable upgrades, he's a pretty solid pick. But of course, life isn't fair in Anime Rangers X. He's a pain to get your hands on. And once you start comparing him to other evolved legendary units, the sparkle dims a little. Leaf Ninja Sage is what happens when good design meets bad luck in the gacha. Stats? Great. Cost? Surprisingly friendly. Max placements? A solid 4. The only real downside is the challenge of actually pulling him. If you do manage to get him though, he's absolutely one of the best legendary units in the game. He's like that quiet kid at school who suddenly aces every test and does backflips at recess. Now, let's give a little love to Night King. This one is interesting. She's got 5 max placements, her upgrades are super cheap, and she holds her own with decent speed and stats. Before evolution, she makes for an okayish tank. Nothing spectacular, but she gets the job done. Still, when you look at top-tier tanks like Demon Slayer with sun breathing, Night King starts to feel like your reliable old car next to a brand new sports model. Saiyan Warrior Super is just full of surprises. Despite only allowing 3 placements, his stats are impressive, and his range and ability damage per second are ridiculously good for a legendary unit. In fact, he's among the best legendaries out there. But of course, in late-game content, most Mythic units leave him in the dust. And yes, like most good things in Anime Rangers X, he's relatively hard to get, because of course he is. Next up, Cyborg Ultimate. This guy has range, like sniping you from the moon level range. Compared to most non-evolved legendaries, he's clearly superior. He's got 4 placements, his upgrade costs are manageable, but his damage per second just doesn't cut it in the meta. Plus, evolving him feels kinda pointless when there are better evolved legendaries with way more impact. He's like bringing a flashlight to a laser show. And finally, Silent Sting and Blackleg Hellfire. These two are like the starter pack MVPs. Silent Sting has great stats, solid placement options, and is perfect for beginners, but his range and ability damage per second are practically non-existent. On the other hand, Blackleg Hellfire is a stat machine, great for starting players, and overall a fantastic legendary. Except, well, he's hard to obtain and kinda lives in the shadow of Saiyan Warrior Super. Still, if you manage to get him early on, he'll carry you through the rough patches like a true anime sidekick. The units in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right. Legendary Saiyan, King of Shadows, Limitless Sorcerer, Thunder Sword, One-Armed Pirate, King Ant, Tank Top Hero, and Bunny Girl. Okay, real talk. If you've ever been smacked by a boss at Wave 12 and sat there questioning your entire unit lineup, this part is for you. We're diving into the S-tier units in Anime Rangers X. And trust me, it's not all sunshine and meta-breaking mayhem. Let's break these legends down. Starting with Legendary Saiyan. This dude is an absolute beast. Like, we're talking insanely high health points and the luxury of placing 5 of him on the field. His ability damage? Chef's kiss. But here's the catch. He's pricier than a gacha addiction. Seriously, placing and upgrading him feels like taking out a second mortgage. And don't even think about using him in early game unless you like suffering. Then we've got the mysterious King of Shadows. This unit hits like a truck with single target damage. Perfect for melting bosses if you can actually get him on the field. But here's the buzzkill. He's got that only child energy. Just one placement allowed, and he's not cheap to deploy or upgrade. Use wisely, or feel the regret. Enter the Limitless Sorcerer. A bit of a mixed bag. His evolved version? Easily one of the strongest in the whole game. AoE damage is solid, abilities are flashy, everything you want. But the base unit? Hot take, it kinda sucks. Only one placement, expensive, and among the worst non-evolved Mythic units in Anime Rangers X. That's like putting premium gas in a scooter. Now for Thundersword. He brings the beef with great health points and is easily one of the best tank non-evolved Mythic units. And he's actually pretty wallet-friendly when it comes to placing and upgrading. But don't get too excited, he's only got 2 max placements. For a tank, that's rough. Add in snail speed attacks and pathetic range, and you've got a glorified wall with a shiny sword. Let's talk One-Arm Pirate. Yeah, he's easy on the wallet and has 2 placements with okay-ish health, but listen, he's kinda mid. His range and speed are low enough to make you check if he's even doing anything. Compared to other Mythic units, he's basically the background character who thinks he's a main. King Ant is the definition of, don't judge a book by its cover. You get 4 placements, and he's cheap to place and upgrade. Plus, he dishes out surprisingly strong damage and tankiness for the price. The problem? He moves and attacks like he's stuck in molasses. His range and speed are so bad you'll wonder if your game lagged. Next up, Tank Top Hero, aka the YLS 400 budget unit. 5 placements, solid health for the price, and tanky enough to handle a few slaps. But he's so slow and his damage is so low, he's basically a walking health bar. There are just so many better options out there that it feels wrong to waste the slot. And finally, let's not sleep on Bunny Girl. Don't let the name fool you. This unit is a support queen. She heals nearby units whenever she pops off her skill, summons little mobs to help out, and is super cheap to deploy. She's not made for damage, but that's okay. Her healing won't save you from one-shot enemies, but in most other cases, she's the best cheerleader you could ask for. The units in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right: Solar Fist, Shadow Knight, Limitless Sorcerer Infinite, Night King Chaos, Green Tornado, String Demon, Bunny, Crow Ninja, and King Curses. You know that feeling when you drop a unit on the field and everything just melts? Yeah, that's exactly what Solar Fist brings to the table. Not only is it super cheap to place and upgrade, but it also delivers some of the best single target damage per second in all of Anime Rangers X. And let's talk about that range. It's not just good, it's chef's kiss. The ability and ultimate, massive damage. The only bummer? You can only place 1. And while that one hits like a truck, other Mythic units have the upper hand just because you can spam them more. Now let's shine a little moonlight on Shadow Knight, one of the most slept-on powerhouses out there. You get 4 placements, and each one is budget-friendly when it comes to spawning and upgrading. For a 400 yen cost unit, it's ridiculously tanky, like endgame level sturdy. However, don't expect it to be your main damage dealer. Compared to other secret units, its damage per second is, let's just say, more of a gentle tap than a knockout punch. Moving on to the flashy, the fabulous, the absolutely devastating Limitless Sorcerer Infinite. This one is built to annihilate with ability damage and area of effect attacks. It's got great range and solid stats across the board. But hold up, it comes at a cost. You'll need a fat wallet to get it on the field and leveled up. Also, that ability cooldown, long enough to make you check your phone while you wait. Oh, and like Solar Fist, you only get to place 1. Say hello again to Night King Chaos, who recently got buffed and is finally out of his mid-tier slumber. His ability damage and attack speed are decent now, making him a respectable pick. But let's be real, compared to the current heavy-hitting Mythic and Secret units, he's still kind of like bringing a sword to a laser gun fight. He's solid but not meta-warping. Now let's talk about the green-haired whirlwind himself, Green Tornado. This guy is beginner-friendly to the max. You can place 5 of him, and he's cheap to get up and running. For a 400 yen cost unit, he's packing good all-around stats and even holds his own as a tank. But when you step into serious endgame territory, he starts to fall off. And if you're lucky enough to have Demon Slayer using Sun Breathing in your arsenal, that one's just a better tank all around. We can't forget String Demon, the queen of long-range domination. With 3 placements and an area of effectability that slaps, she's easily one of the best non-evolved Mythic units in the game. You'll have to invest a bit to max her out, but it's usually worth the coin. Still, when stacked up against Secret and Evolved Mythic units, she starts to look more like a solid B+, than an unstoppable A+. Then we've got Bunny, the adorable death dealer in disguise. Out of the gate, she's got cheap placement and upgrade costs, along with solid damage per second, health points, and overall stats. But here's the catch. She really starts popping off only after evolution. Before that, she's good but not amazing. Also, good luck getting her in the first place. She's rare enough to make you question your luck and your life choices. And finally, there's Crow Ninja, the stealthy glass cannon. His ability has a short cooldown and hits like a lightning bolt. With great range and strong base stats, he's a flashy unit for sure. But there's always a but. You can only place 1 of him, and he's pretty expensive to set up. Plus, when compared to the top-tier Mythic units out there, his damage per second starts to look a little underwhelming. Still cool, but more style points than substance. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Eclipse Sorcerer, Bunny Full Moon, Fire Fist, Cursed Love, Legendary Saiyan Super, Molten Phantom, King of Shadows Monarch, Demon Slayer Sun Breathing, and Yuno. Hold up, did someone just say best units in Anime Rangers X? Because you're about to meet the absolute monsters of the meta, the units that make enemies wish they'd stayed home and played a different game. Buckle up because this roster isn't just strong, they're unfairly powerful. Let's dive into these heavy hitters, one by one. First up, Eclipse Sorcerer. This unit is basically that one quiet kid in class who turns out to be a genius at everything. Eclipse Sorcerer brings phenomenal range, solid damage per second, and health points, and you can place 2 of them on the field. Placement and upgrades are super cheap too. The only downside, no flashy ultimate skill like some of the others. But honestly, when your basics are this strong, who needs fireworks? Then there's Bunny Full Moon, who's not just good, she's cracked. We're talking insanely high stats across the board. Her damage per second, health points, and speed are top tier. Plus, she has a passive ability that gives her a 20% chance to stun enemies every time she uses a skill. Oh, and she gains a permanent 2% speed boost with every kill. The catch? You can only place 1 of her, and getting her is harder than pulling a 5-star unit blindfolded. Fire Fist is another all-around champion in Anime Rangers X. He brings the heat with high stats, cheap placement, and upgrades. And you can place up to 3 of him. That's a triple threat right there. But like Bunny Full Moon, getting your hands on Fire Fist is rough. It's like trying to win the lottery with a broken ticket scanner. Now let's talk about pure destruction. Cursed Love is the highest damage per second unit in the game. Max her out, and she becomes a walking cheat code. Her range and DPS go through the roof, and her ultimate ability can literally one-shot bosses like Easter. The downside? You can only place 1 of her, and her upgrades will burn a hole in your virtual wallet. Worth it? Absolutely. Legendary Saiyan Super enters the chat with tank vibes and big numbers. You can place 3 of him, his health is enormous, and his ability damage is fantastic. Definitely one of the best tank units in the game. But, and this is a big but, he's expensive to place and upgrade. And right now, there are Mythic and Secret units that tank better for less. Still, if you want a unit that looks like it bench presses planets, this one's for you. Speaking of Mythics, say hello to Molten Phantom. For a non-evolution Mythic unit, this guy slaps. With 2 max placement and really high stats, he holds his own pretty well. He's pricey though, and while his stats are nice, his total damage per second falls short compared to units where you can place 3 or more. Great unit, but not the king of the leaderboard. Then there's King of Shadows Monarch, probably one of the most interesting Mythic units in the game. He hits like a truck, and he has a passive that spawns shadows from the enemies he kills. That sounds wild, right? It is. Until you remember bosses can't be cloned, so that passive is kind of useless in those fights. Only one can be placed, and he's expensive, but his raw damage makes up for a lot of that. Finally, we have Demon Slayer Sun Breathing. This guy is the ultimate budget tank. You can place 4 of him and upgrades are super cheap. Stats are solid, and his Nuke Eternal ability gives him temporary invincibility against bosses. While his damage per second doesn't compare to some of the flashier mythics, he gets the job done. And sometimes, that's all you really need. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.